What's up, YouTube? Big Dog Brett. Wanted to go over some of the things that's kind of happened here recently, some of the trash talking that was going on in the comment section of the last video I made. Also wanted to talk about the recruiting class and some of the stuff that's kind of going on around the Rose Bowl and some of the other bowl game stuff. So sit back, hang tight, and we're going to touch base on quite a few things. Got my Georgia glasses as a Christmas present, so haters gonna hate, but I like them, so I'm gonna wear them for most videos, but can't really see too well with them on though. But they are cool. I like them. So I'm gonna switch over to my other glasses, which fit a little bit better. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and apologize up front. I do have a cold. Seems like every time I do one of these videos I have a cold or allergies or something, so appreciate you guys for bearing with me on that. Okay, so let's go real quick. I'm gonna jump into the trash talking that kind of happens in some of these videos, especially whenever you start talking about one team's gonna beat another. Their fans feel like they have to defend their team, but some of you guys, some of you guys are trying to defend your team with just nonsense. And in case you guys haven't noticed, I like to kind of get into the facts of things, the numbers of things, look at the way things work as a team functions, rather than just saying, "Oh, this guy's an awesome player and he could beat the Patriots if they just let him play him. He beat him by himself." Stop with the nonsense. You guys are either being willfully stupid or just are ignorant. I'd like to think you're just ignorant, but after the comments continue to go 3 or 4 deep, it tends to get a little embarrassing for some of you guys, and some of you guys won't admit when you've been called out. One of the guys in the comment section said that Oklahoma was 5-2 against Georgia. No, not sure where you dug that number up, but that's not accurate either. We've never played. Sorry. So, oh, by the way, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, or whatever you celebrate. I celebrate Christmas, and so I wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Now, to talk about Jake Fromm and some of the things that's kind of going on around the league here, I wanted to bring up Jake Fromm's passing ability. What is it? Where is it at? Per PFF, whatever that is. Fromm is the most efficient deep passer in the country, completing 22 of 44 passes over 20 yards downfield for 735 yards with 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 4 drops. Good for a nation's best 135.4 NFL quarterback rating. But he's a bad quarterback, right? I think that's one of the big factors that it's kind of getting missed by the media. It's getting missed by a lot of coaching assessments or review assessments or any of this other stuff. Everybody's just missing this. I haven't really seen a team all year that's put up, I think, less than 200 yards on Oklahoma. I'm sure there's a couple of teams that have, but even when Oklahoma had that big blowout win against TCU for the championship game, TCU still put well over 200 yards on them. Allow me to make this very clear. Take all of the other stuff aside. If you allow Jake Fromm to throw for 200 plus yards on you and the Dogs run for 250 or 300 yards on you, there's no way you're winning that game. There's absolutely no way. I also don't believe there's any way that Oklahoma is going to score more than 30 points on Georgia. I do believe Georgia is more than capable of scoring 30 points on Oklahoma. So at the end of the day, I think it's going to come down to the fact that I think that Georgia is not going to allow Baker Mayfield to run and scramble. A lot of teams have tried to get after Baker Mayfield, and I still think that Georgia's going to blitz him and put pressure on him from time to time. But I think it's going to be more along the lines of what we did in the Notre Dame game, or what we did whenever we kind of box up a quarterback to keep him from running. We're not going to let him outside of that area. We're just going to slowly collapse the box on top of him. Now, Oklahoma's offensive line has looked pretty good against some of the other defensive lines in the country, but I don't think they've met a ferocity like what they're going to meet with Georgia. They just have not met anybody like that. And it's not that Georgia's played bad teams. Georgia's played some really good teams, and we've beat them handily. And if you go back and you watch the tape, and I'm talking to a lot of you Oklahoma fans, if you go back and you watch the tape of Georgia's defense pushing around offensive line, big offensive lines, pushing them around like tinker toys, I don't believe that your offensive line is going to be able to hold Georgia up. Georgia loves to grind a line into submission. They want to make the other guy quit. That is where all of their motivation comes from. If you kept up with the Dogs, you'd notice that. I also wanted to point out that Georgia can run the ball at will. There's really no. Let me define this a little clearer for some of you Sooner fans. Georgia has a three-headed monster. And I'm not saying this as far as being a homer. Yes, I know I'm a Georgia homer. I get it. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to stand up here and say, no matter how much I love my Dogs, I'm not going to stand up here and say that I believe Georgia could beat the New England Patriots. I don't even believe Georgia could beat the Cleveland Browns. It's just that big of a gap in talent, so I'm realistic. I've heard Alabama fans say they think Alabama could beat pro teams. No, you won't. You'll get grounded into the dirt. There's no comparison between college and pro. There's not. So, to give you a realistic expectation of the players that you're going to be dealing with when you're dealing with Georgia's running backs, you're going to be dealing with Sony Michel, Nick Chubb, and DeAndre Swift. The problem is not that they're just three good running backs. The problem is that their running techniques cause defenses to struggle. When you have Nick Chubb and you want to stop Nick Chubb, you have to load the box. You're not going to tackle him with just one guy. Majority of the time, he's going to tear it up and he's going to go right through two or three guys before you tackle him 6 or 7 yards later. If you look at Sony Michel, if you try to load the box and get in there tight with Sony Michel, he's going to bounce around you and twist away, and he's going to break downfield. If you try to change your format so that you have a couple of guys that want to cover somebody like him and they hand the ball off to DeAndre Swift is so stinking fast, he gets around the corner before you can blink. So while you're standing there in the middle waiting to try to knock down Nick Chubb, here goes DeAndre Swift around the corner. So it makes it very, very difficult to stop a running game that not only has three good running backs, they have three different kinds of running backs. And to give you guys a good understanding of what that really means, take it like this. Let's say that you have a quarterback who's a great deep ball thrower, right? But he can't scramble. Well, if you put him in the mix with a guy like, I don't know, Winbush, I think is his name, from Notre Dame. A guy who can throw pretty good passes and can scramble really well. Or Tim Tebow, who could scramble really well. Or Marcus Mariota, who could scramble really well. Those guys force the defense to respond accordingly. And that means that whenever Georgia's changing out running backs, that means the play calling has to change to deal with that specific kind of running back. It's not like you can just play, you know what, we're gonna blitz three and we're gonna pick up whatever comes through. It doesn't work that way. Not to mention, Georgia's offensive line is also extremely good at pushing people around. So go back, watch some tape, and get into the facts of it as to how the teams play. Okay, so that should give you an idea of some of the things that's going to happen. I also wanted to talk about recruits, and I also wanted to 24/7 Sports does a recruiting. And at one point, even though Georgia had 6 5-stars, they were trying to say that Georgia had a number 2 ranking class. Now, here's how I know that doesn't make any sense. If you take any team in college football, let's just say, if you take the number 2 ranked team, the number 3 ranked team, the number 4 ranked team, and the number 5 ranked team, it takes all of those teams combined to get as many 6 stars as Georgia has right now. By the way, one of Georgia's 4 stars is 5/1000th of a point away from being a 5-star. So there's a lot of talent stacked up on that chart. Now, if you want to say, oh, well, Ohio State has 16 4-stars, Texas has 16 4-stars, Alabama has 12 4-stars, Miami has 4 or 13 4-stars. Okay, Georgia has 12. That's only 4 away from any of the other teams out there. the closest being Texas and Ohio State. But Georgia has 4 more 4 stars and 5 more 5 more 5 stars and 4 more 5 stars than Ohio State and Texas. I'll take the 5 stars. So if you're a team like Oklahoma, who has 0 5 stars, Auburn, which has 0 5 stars, Oregon 0, Florida 0, South Carolina 0, TCU 0, Tennessee 0, no surprise there. And all these teams are listed in the top 25. If I go to, let me see, like number 50, from 50 all the way to number 8. So from number 8 all the way to 50, that many teams, 42 teams, have a combined total of the same number of 5 stars as Georgia does. And by the way, if Clemson didn't have the 4 4-stars that they have, if you exclude Clemson from that list, it goes number 7 has 0, then 1, 2, 3. You'd have to go all the way to the number 3 class to get enough 5 stars to match what Georgia has. From number 3 all the way to number 50, as long as you exclude Clemson. And it's understandable why Clemson has as many as they do, because they're one of the best teams in the nation. Oh, I also want to talk about Cade Mays. Tennessee fans, LSU fans, and Auburn fans, what in the world are y'all doing? Hold on there, guys. I got a call trying to come in. I'm going to wait on that. I'll call them back here in a minute. Do you honestly think that calling out a player like you guys have because he didn't pick your school? I mean, I think Cade Mays was getting death threats. That's real classy, guys. Please keep doing that, because those recruits are going to keep coming to Georgia. It's a game. It's a freaking game. And you guys are giving death threats to a teenage kid. I don't blame the guy for going off on y'all on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and I hope he skywrites it. You guys, every one of y'all that talk trash to that kid because he picked a school that was on flames, going down and just sinking, for bailing ship because he wants to be successful, man, forget y'all. That guy made the best decision he could based on what he saw. And I challenge any one of you that if you had the same talent he does and you had the opportunity to go play for a school that's going to be, a potential to be in the college football playoff for the next 4 or 5 years, versus go play for Tennessee, which probably ain't going to make a bowl game for the next 3 or 4 years, who are you going to go play for? Well, you're going to go play for the big school, for the school that's got the big rankings, the school that's got the big recruiting class, the school that's got an opportunity to get more NFL scouts in front of you than anywhere else. At the end of the day, it's a business decision. Now, am I glad he came to Georgia? Absolutely. But for all you guys out there talking smack about Cade Mays or any of these other recruits because they didn't pick your school, man, forget y'all. Those, especially ones that don't want to go to bad programs, I don't blame them one bit. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who don't know, Jeremy Pruitt ended up at Tennessee. And Jeremy Pruitt, unless I'm mistaken, also coached for Nick Saban. So I just don't see Jeremy Pruitt turning that program around in a year, and maybe 4 or 5 years he'll turn it around. But I think initially you guys are going to have to, in Tennessee, you guys are going to have to give him some time to mold that program back into something that's worth paying attention to, because as of right now, it's just a smoking wet dumpster fire that nobody wants to be a part of. I mean, it's basically plutonium. They had to offer him like a 10-year guarantee or something ridiculous to get him to come coach. After, like, I don't know, half of the New York phone book turned down that job because nobody wanted it. You know, right now that program is in such disarray that it's going to take years. Coming up next year, let me jump in here real quick because I want to make sure I get this right. I want to make sure I get this absolutely right. Pardon the delay here. Need to look at teams, because I was looking on the schedule for what I saw in the SEC about a week ago what the schedule looked like for Tennessee, and man, it was just not pretty. It was just not pretty at all. Schedule. I think that they're playing. Come on, schedule. Let me jump this to the 2018. Oh, they don't have it up yet on this one. Crap. I think like their first 6 games are pretty much gonna make them look pretty rough. Tennessee football 2018 schedule. I apologize for not having this up. Normally I do, but I've been kind of under the weather and just kind of scattered brain in general. And when it comes to this sort of stuff, I mean, plus it's Tennessee, and why would I want to keep up with them? So, oh, let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay, so September 1st at West Virginia. West Virginia had a winning season this year, so I don't see you beating them. Etsu and UTEP. I honestly think UTEP might beat them. So right there, I'd say you're 1 and 2, and then you play Florida. That's a toss-up, so I'll give you that one and say 2 and 2. Then you play Georgia. That's a loss, so that's 2 and 3. Then you play Auburn. That's a loss. That's 2 and 4. Then you play Alabama. That's a loss. That's 2 and 5. Then you play South Carolina. That's a loss. That's 2 and 6. Then you play Charlotte. You might win that one. I'll give you that one, 3 and 6. Then you play Kentucky. You might win that one, but since I gave you the last 2, I'm going to take that one away from you. So now you're 3 and 7. Then you play Missouri. They beat you. Now you're 3 and 8. And then you play Vanderbilt, and they beat you. Now you're 3 and 9. So, and let's say that 2 of those games go the other way. Let's just say we give you two of those games. You're still 5 and 8 or 5 and 7 or something terrible. You'd be 5 and 7. I don't see a way that Tennessee is going to be going to win a bowl game. We're going to be in a bowl game next year. They're going to get walloped. So that having been said, it's going to take several years for Tennessee to get their stuff back together. So all you Tennessee fans, all you volunteer fans, please feel free to not volunteer ridiculous information like you guys are going 10 and 0 next year or some ridiculousness, or 10 and 2 or whatever it is. It doesn't make sense. It makes you guys look even worse than you are. So please stop doing that. Couple of games coming on that I want to watch. One of them is the Auburn versus the UCF game. I think Auburn's going to come out in that game pretty hungry. I'm going to be pulling. I'm not going to pull for Auburn. I'm not going to pull for Auburn. I'm not. I'm going to pull for UCF, but I think Auburn's going to beat them. But I want UCF to win. I think Auburn's going to come out there really ticked off and upset and just absolutely going to hand it to UCF to prove to everybody that I don't care if you're a 12-0 team. We should have gotten the college football playoff. We're ticked off that Georgia beat us, and we're ticked off that Alabama got in the college football playoffs. So they're going to come out there and try to put a hurting on UCF, and I hope UCF beats them. Anyway, by the way, Auburn fans, you guys are ridiculous. You guys are ridiculous. I absolutely cannot believe that you guys are putting T-shirts out that you beat Georgia 40 to whatever in the middle of the season. Why are you doing that? Because everybody that sees that shirt's going to know immediately that you lost the game that mattered. You're basically you're wearing a shirt that says, hey, I'm a loser. I'm a loser when it counts. That's what you're doing. I don't know why you would do that. But hey, I mean, I guess that if that's what you want to hang your hat on. My daughter gave me this straw. It changes colors. It goes from pink to purple. See, watch. Pink, cold water makes it purple. So I like it. My daughter gave it to me. So, but wearing a shirt like that, that's okay. I'll wear my SEC champ shirt that I got for Christmas. Oh, goodness gracious, guys. Y'all got to y'all got to get it together. Whew. So heard a lot of people talking about Ohio State being upset that they didn't get in, and I wanted to throw this little tidbit of information out there. I'm not upset that Ohio State didn't get in. Yeah, they won the division champions or whatever, but they're still a 2-loss team. And the reason that I'm not upset about it is because if right now, you put Alabama and Ohio State in a game, any bowl game, I don't care which one, who would be the favorite? And the answer is Alabama. I don't like Alabama. I'm not an Alabama fan. I'm not an Alabama homer. I'm just fortunate enough to be in the SEC where Alabama is, and Alabama's fortunate to be in the SEC with us in different divisions. So that whenever we get to the SEC championship, because we're both teams are strong enough that if one beats the other, or this one beats that one, that's a pretty strong team. You're going to the college football playoffs. Now, something else I wanted to also bring up, a little interesting fact, or at least I think it is that I said I think that Georgia should be ranked number 2. Now, it doesn't really matter that we're ranked number 3. We're still going to play the same team. However, I do think it's important to note that if Georgia played, if we were still in the old school BCS, you pick them, they play for the national championship game, I'm pretty sure Georgia would be playing Clemson right now. Now, you may say, oh, no, the Big Ten. Listen, I'm telling you right now, if you ask anybody if Clemson should be ranked number 1, they're going to say yes. You ask them if it was the old school game, the old school system, would you take the Big 12 champion to play against Clemson, the Big 10 champion to play against Clemson, or the SEC champ to play against Clemson? They're going to say the SEC champ. So, you Oklahoma Sooner fans, you guys can say what you want to, but you ask around. Take your Sooner hat off a minute and honestly ask around, who would they pick? And by the way, since Georgia's favored to win the game against Oklahoma on every sports line I can find, that should probably tell you right there that Georgia would be picked to play Clemson over Oklahoma. But hey, whatever. Well, the video is starting to get kind of long, but I did want to go over some of my thoughts. Oh, Baker Mayfield apparently has the flu, in case you didn't know. But he's at practice. But he can't go to the media, can't go to the press conferences. Can't go to the press conferences. But he can go practice. What? What? No. I don't know what kind of stunt this is. And if he's sick, I hope he gets better. Because I don't want to beat your team damaged. I want to beat your team at its very best. I want you to be 110% and us come out there and still beat you and leave no room for doubt on the table. What I don't want to happen is I don't want to hear any Sooner fans say, hey, by the way, the only reason you beat us was because Baker Mayfield was sick. Really? We lost our starting quarterback in the first game. You're still playing with yours. So I'm not going to have any of that. That's just ridiculousness. I don't know if it's a psychological ploy or whether the guy's actually sick or what it is. But to me, if you're good enough to go to practice and practice, you can't sit in a chair and answer some questions? I mean, if you go back and watch that Fayetteville dash cam video, he wasn't in good enough shape to escape the cops, but he had to sit down and answer their questions later. Just throwing that out there. So, well, Baker, if you get tired of huffing on that inhaler or whatever it is, maybe you'll come play football on New Year's Day. And them dogs will hand you that lunch. Then we'll take it away from you and eat it. Anyway, Big Dog Brett, you know, if you want to like and subscribe, that's fine. If you want to leave a comment down in the comment section, that's great. You want to do a little bit of trash talking, that's fun too. I'll be glad to come down there and sling some facts around with you, or I might refer you to my other video. It just depends on how I feel. But thank you guys for all your time. Have a good day, and go Dogs.